disrupted
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So take a look at this. This is kind of interesting. So as far back as the 1980s, there has been confirmation that the AIPAC lobby group, the Jewish Formation lobby group, peddling for Israel's war crimes, peddling for the genocide that we're waging right now, has been around for decades, has occupied control of majority of American politicians. And Netanyahu is about to address that out in the open on this broadcast here in the 80s. Just so elaborately, it says, this is from Censored Men, it says Netanyahu in the 80s brags about how the Jewish lobby controls America. We own the state, the Congress, and we have record strong Jewish lobby on our side. We have a strong influence over the general support. So listen to what he says here. So the reporter says we don't have America with us, meaning that America doesn't support what you're doing with your military, doesn't support the agenda that you're contributing. But watch his response here.
התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי. ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת. זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת, גדולי הפרשנים. אמריקה לא תכפה לנו דבר, אם לא אבל...
So, it sounds like something that I've heard numerous times by crack pipes like Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper or Keith Olbermann or any of those people saying that Russia is doing in the result of memes, that they have such powerful influence over us that they can manipulate the general public to, I don't know, protest about clean water. How dare they do something like that? A meme went out and it's somehow related to Russia. We don't know how it is, and we're going to spend, the next 6 years trying to figure it out. But somehow, they're influencing the public to actually care about drinking water. Ugh. Meanwhile, this is out in the open, confirmed, and not a word is said on mainstream media because they captured the mainstream media to never mention about who truly runs them, who truly operates on their behalf, on the coverage. Just like how they'll never disclose the advertisers, the military-industrial complex, and the contractors that advocate for wars using the mainstream media as a soundboard that people tuning in can watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or ABC or CBS or whatever channel they're tuning into or any publication, and they'll be sucked into the war propaganda to make you believe that we need to desecrate another population. So that's amazing that was from the 1980s. And I was so just confirmed from Netanyahu at that moment. And people still don't understand that concept. And if you bring that concept to people, and if you tell them about this confirmed note that there is a huge lobby that is funneling money to politicians, universities, whatnot, to advocate for the horrific genocide that's taking place right now, they smear you out. They smear you. They call you anti-Semites. They silence you out. They say that you're pushing conspiracy, you're tinfoil hat, you're some sort of Trumper, anti whatever. They just throw random words at you. But this is no secret. This is no secret. And it's also no secret that it's been funneling a bunch of campaigns in America for the past few decades. So this is from Open Secrets. And this is the top 20 contenders of pro-Israel lobby money that's being funneled into their campaigns. And guess who's the top one? from 1990 to 2024. Guess who's the top contender? Joe Biden. The president of the United States, Joe Biden, got almost over $4 million from pro-Israel funding into his campaign to allow this genocide to continue on. And I love when people on social media, because Biden may have said something, some little slippage of Palestinians, or we got to protect Palestinians, or hear them out, whatever it is, that people think that Joe Biden is anti-Israel. Because obviously, with his finance, with his campaign finance, with how he confirms himself as being a Zionist, he's a Catholic Zionist apparently, and devote himself in every which measure to aid and support the continuation of the Israel regime. He is nowhere, in fact, being supportive of Palestine. Nowhere whatsoever. So here's the other contenders here. Robert Mendez, Hillary Clinton, Mark Kirk, Joe Lieberman, Mitch McConnell, Steny Hoyer, Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer. Mister, if you mess with them, they'll have 9 ways Sunday to take you down. I said on Rachel Maddow. Josh Gottheimer, Elliot Engel, Richie Torres. Richie Torres, that's Jose Vega's running against him, because Richie Torres is no doubtably a washed out Democratic gigolo, basically, for the establishment. He plays to pay. He pays to play. He goes into whatever motion that the Democratic Party goes towards, and right now they're very much pro-Israel, pro-war, and pro-genocide. So he's advocating so much for it. Ted Cruz, John McCain, Shelley Berkeley, Hakeem Jeffries, Brad Schneider, Ron Wyden, Carl Levin, Eric Cantor, and David Perdue. So, and look at that money. Look at that money. That's not actually a lot if you think about it. Like, even for Joe Biden's case, only $4 million. You think they could have bargained a bit more. You think they could have negotiated a little bit higher and got something out of it. I'm just saying. With how much money we have spent, funneling their support to build the Iron Dome, which is a multi-trillion-dollar military apparatus surrounding Israel, which makes me question the whole ideal that Hamas was able to bypass all that to rain havoc on a music festival. It's just one of those things that I constantly question, hearing all about Israel, Palestine, and Gaza and this war. It's one of the unanswered questions that still go unanswered on that. So, because Joe Biden is a paid shill for AIPAC and for lobby firms for places like Israel, that's why he goes to do something like this. And this is on behalf of, recently it was the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And you think with Holocaust Remembrance Day, on a day to remember the lives that were massacred during World War II by a horrific militarized regime that cultivated, slaughtered, and massacred so many people innocently that were just trying to live normal lives, and they were just, caught up in the anger and aggression done by an aggressive governance of another country. You think they would pick up on that and apply that same understanding to what's happening with Israel-Palestine? Because you have a militarized regime that's cultivating innocent lives and massacring them by the thousands. You think you would understand how those two play out very similarly, and how being for the genocide and being for the mass slaughtering at a Holocaust remembrance event is absolutely an oxymoron. You are part of the damage. You are part of the damage that people had to have felt for years. And while people are advocating for some sort of peace negotiation, they want diplomacy, they want civility back again, they want a ceasefire movement, they want divestment away from Israel, so they wouldn't fund more of this terrorist regime to rain havoc on everybody. And then silencing those people out. It shows the absurdity of all this. And here's Joe Biden once again making a complete ass of himself at a Holocaust remembrance event, talking about how we need to continue our reign of destruction, funding Israel to turn Gaza into ashes.
Now, here we are, not 75 years later, but just 7.5 months later, and people are already forgetting. They're already forgetting that Hamas unleashed this terror. It was Hamas that brutalized Israelis.
No, what people are forgetting is where Hamas came from. What people are forgetting, and this is part of the whole denialism of America. That's the coined phrase that I'm using. They're in such denial over the past 20 years of war lies that they don't even realize that this, just like Ukraine, just like Afghanistan, just like Syria, just like Libya, are all based on manufactured lies done by the establishment that's exploiting us, using terror to keep us into constant war. That's what people are forgetting. And the fact that, so many people are screaming at the top of their lungs about, don't forget October 7th, don't forget October 7th. But they don't forget, they never ever questioned about October 6th, October 5th, or even afterwards. Nobody investigated what really happened on October 7th. And people honestly did forget that the people that attended that music festival, the victims that were caught up in that moment, are suing Israel. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that the people that were the victims of that horrific attack are suing Israel for their lack of security. Because they were aware, they knew it was going to happen. They were told numerous times not to have a music festival right next to the caged city of Gaza. And guess what? It happened. Now, I feel bad for it happening, but it happened, and they need it to happen so that they can use that as an excuse to continue a genocide against Palestine, which is something they've wanted to do for years.
It was Hamas who took and continues to hold hostages. I have not forgotten, nor have you, and we will not forget.
No, you have forgotten. You have forgotten. I mean, you're talking to an individual who can't even get himself off stage. You have forgotten. Because if you really cared about the hostages, if you really give a damn about the people that were captured by Hamas, you'd be viciously angered at Netanyahu screaming at the top of his lungs, going on the phone with him, and demanding that you listen to the Israeli people that are protesting against him and saying that you need to work something out to keep the hostages alive and bring them back home. That's what you'd be doing. But what you're advancing is you're just listening to the military-industrial complex that's aiding in Israel's destruction of genocide, Israel's destruction of Gaza. and waging the lives of innocent civilians, an entire civilization wiped out, doing an ethnic cleansing.
Now,
so there you go. And then people applauded, and probably there's going to be some couple idiots that are going to say 4 more years, 4 more years. People are in just such denial. Such denial. They need to wake up to realize that this is all a sham. This is all a charade. That these wars are calculated by blood-curdling, evil, psychotic psychopaths that rule over us in order to use us as collateral to wage massacres for their own agenda. That's why they needed to have Hamas come in and do the destruction they did on October 7th so they could find some sort of scenario to advance more warfare, more military tactics on the people of Gaza and the Palestinians. They needed something to do that. And they needed some sort of 9/11 event to play that through. The same way 9/11, as devastating that was, it was the opportunity for the deep state insiders to enact war in all these different nations, enact the war on terror, and restrict our rights as citizens. It was the perfect opportunity because they already had the Patriot Act drafted way before we even knew about terrorism. They already had it drafted, already set to go to restrict our rights, protect us from terrorism before we even knew about terrorism. But they needed something to keep us at arms. They needed something to keep us in fear. And that's where, horrifically, that played out. Just like we've seen October 7th, people are forgetting that. So, I think it's more of a denial than just honest forgetting.